Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Tathai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together we'll recite Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 9, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, text 33. You can repeat behind me. Yada rahitam atmanam bhutindriya gunashayahi sarupena mayopetam Pashyan Swarajyam Richati. Yada rahitam atmanam bhutendriya gunashayahi sarupena mayopetam Pashyan Swarajyam Richati. Yada rahitam atmanam bhutendriya gunashayahi sarupena mayopetam Pashyan Swarajyam Richati. Yada rahitam atmanam bhutendriya gunashayahi sarupena mayopetam Pashyan Swarajyam Richati. Mothers. Yada rahitam atmanam bhutendriya gunashayahi sarupena mayopetam Pashyan Swarajyam Richati. Yada rahitam atmanam bhutendriya gunashayahi sarupena mayopetam Pashyan Swarajyam Richati. Yada, when, rahitam, freed from, atmanam, self, bhuta, material elements, indriya, material senses, gunashayahe, under the influence of the material modes of nature, sarupena, in pure existence, maya, by me, upetam, approaching, pashyan, by seeing, Swarajyam, spiritual kingdom, Richati, enjoy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki Jai, Sitaram Nakshalman ki Jai. Purport. When you are free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. At that point, you will be situated in pure consciousness. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, it is said that a person whose only desire is to render transcendental loving service to the Lord is a free person in any condition of material existence. That service attitude is the Sarupa or real form of the living entity. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Chaitanya Charitamrita also confirms this statement by declaring that the real spiritual form of the living entity is eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord. The Mayavad school shudders at the thought of a service attitude in the living entity, not knowing that in the transcendental world, the service of the Lord is based on transcendental love. Transcendental loving service is never to be compared to the forced service of the material world. In the material world, even if one is under the conception that he is no one's servant, he is still the servant of his senses, under the dictation of material modes. Factually, no one is master here in the material world, and therefore, the servants of the senses have a very bad experience of servitude. They shudder at the thought of service because they have no knowledge of the transcendental position. In the transcendental loving service, the servitor is as free as the Lord. The Lord is Swarat or fully independent, and the servant is also fully independent or Swarat in the spiritual atmosphere because there is no forced service. There, the transcendental loving service is due to spontaneous love. A reflected glimpse of such service is experienced in the service of the mother unto the son, the friend's service unto the friend, or the wife's service unto the husband. These reflections of service by friends, parents, or wives are not forced, but are due only to love. Here in this material world, however, the loving service is only a reflection. The real service or service in Sarupa is present in the transcendental world in the association with the Lord. The very same service in transcendental love can be practiced in devotion here. This verse is also applicable to the Jnani school. The enlightened Jnani, when freed from the material contamination, namely the gross and the subtle bodies together with the senses of the material modes of nature, is placed in the Supreme and is thus liberated from material bondage. The Jnani and the devotees are actually in agreement up to the point of liberation from material contamination. But whereas the Jnanis remain pacified on the platform of simple understanding, the devotees develop further spiritual advancement in loving service. The devotees develop a spiritual individuality in their spontaneous service attitude, which is enhanced on and on. Up to the point of Madhurya Ras or transcendental loving service reciprocated between the lover and the beloved. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna. So first of all, I am very grateful to be here in this holy dham, Bhaktivedanta manor. Actually, wherever Prabhupada has visited, those places are all holy dhams. And wherever Radha and Krishna, their lordships are being served, that place is not different from Vrindavan. So it's my great fortune, my pleasure and honor to be here. My gratitude to Shri Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman, Srila Prabhupada, and all the other Prabhupada disciples who are continuing his legacy, working very hard to not just maintain this place, but this place is flourishing. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be visiting here, and also have, more than that, the association of all the devotees here. So primarily I have come to facilitate devotee care course, which we shall be starting on this Friday. But I'm already experiencing devotee care to very kind devotees. Damodar Prabhu and Aman Prabhu, they gave me some Radha Gokulanand special Mahaprasad sweets this morning. So though I have come to speak on it, I am already experiencing devotee care myself. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here in our association. Seeking blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas here and Vaishnavis, especially the senior devotees. I will try to speak something on this verse, which is being spoken by the Lord to Lord Brahma. So Lord Narayan is speaking these verses to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has offered his prayers to the Lord, and after offering his prayers, after glorifying Lord Brahma, he begged for protection. Quite insightful. I'm just, with continuity, I'm just a little bit going back. Lord Brahma asked the protection against that I may not consider myself to be the doer. That's one thing he said, right? While I create. Because Lord Brahma does a very fascinating creation, so he may consider I am the doer. So he seeks the protection of the Lord against the false ego, that I may not be carried out by the false ego, considering myself to the doer, or in due course, though I want to serve you, I may not be deviated to be an enjoyer. Because what may happen is we may begin something on a service note, but when the enjoyment mentality creeps in such a subtle way, we may not be able to note that. And the total one's own focus may be actually then become that of enjoyment. So Lord Brahma therefore seeks protection that may always have this mentality of being a servant and not go into the mode of being an enjoyer in any way. So Lord answers his prayers by saying that what you have asked for, the protection is already being granted. So you will be able to create all this, you will be able to remember me, and especially the Lord is saying, by remembrance of me and by serving my instructions, you will be freed from the gross and the subtle bodies. So basically, there are 3 points being mentioned here in text 33. Freedom from the contamination by your devotional service, by my remembrance, you will be freed from the contamination. Then sarupena mayopetam. So once you are freed from the contamination, you will be situated in your sarupa, in your natural form. And very insightfully Prabhupada says, the service attitude is the sarupa of the jiva. This attitude is the real form. Just imagine, what's the real form of the living entities? This verse says, sarupena mayopetam. You will be situated in your sarupa, in your natural form. And Prabhupada says, this service attitude is the real form of the living entity. So a very beautiful, insightful, that first we have this attitude and then the actual form manifests. We know how the creation is also from the subtle to gross. So when a person manifests that real service attitude, that then the spiritual form. So that spiritual service attitude develops first, and then the spiritual form also develops, suitable spiritual form. So the second point being made by the Lord in this verse is, you will be situated in your natural position. So freedom from the contamination. Second, being situated in your natural position. And what is that natural position? That's the service attitude. And Prabhupada further says, Lord Chaitanya has also described this in Chaitanya. Prabhupada writes here, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also confirms this statement by declaring that the real spiritual form of the living entity is eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord. Where does that come in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Can someone recall the verse? Can someone help me with the verse? Yes, good. Anantachit Prabhu? Yes, so Anantachit Prabhu has correctly answered. Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. This is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, being freed from the contamination, we will be situated in our Sarupa, the natural position, which is that of a servant of the Lord. He is a servant of the Lord. Prabhupada mainly in the purport, he only talks of this point, he elaborates this point regarding this service attitude of the living entity. And the third point being mentioned is, so we'll come back to our main discussion will be what Prabhupada focuses on in the purport, which is being situated in our natural position as a servant and acting in that position as a servant. So mainly we'll be focusing on that. But the third point being made by the Lord is, so by acting in your sarupa, sarupena mayopetam pashyam so rajyam richati, you will be situated in the spiritual kingdom, basically. Richati means enjoy. You will inherit the opulences of the spiritual world. So a devotee, this is kind of a journey of everyone. We become free from the contamination. First, then we are situated in our natural position as a servant. And by acting, Prabhupada said, in our position of a servant, when we practice, we are actually being purified also. So by acting in that position, we will gradually be also situated in that position of a servant. And then the Lord awards, or He loves to share the spiritual opulences. He is very eager to share the opulences of the spiritual world with His devotees. That is Pashyam So Rajyam Richati, the last line. So these 3 points are being described. Now Not just that, there is another beautiful verse which elaborates the last point, how the Lord is so magnanimous. That describes the magnanimous thinking of the Lord, magnanimous thought. Ishvara sabhava bhaktera nalay aprad alpa seva bahu mane atma prayant prasad. So what is the nature of the Lord? Ishvara sabhav bhaktera nalay aprad. He overlooks a big mistake or a fault. If a devotee by mistake commits some offense, the Lord just overlooks, or He minimizes a mistake. Minimizes the mistake. Alpaseva bahumane, magnify the small service. If a devotee does a small service, the Lord magnifies it. He sees it as a big. A big mistake is seen as very small. A small service by the Lord is seen as very big. Right? So that's the nature of the Lord. Just imagine, just the opposite of this material world. Right? Sometimes a small mistake is highlighted out of proportion, and devotee may have done decades of service, and that is put aside. Right? Like we may not consider that at times. So the nature of the Lord is just the opposite of what is usually seen in this world. And then Alpaseva bahumane, He magnifies the small service. Atma prayant prasad. In reciprocation with that little service, the Lord gives Himself to the devotee, His spiritual world to the devotee. Just imagine. So He rewards out of proportion. Right? The Lord rewards out of proportion. Actually, much more than what we can imagine. So that's the nature of the Lord. So what's our duty? Our duty is to understand our Sarupa and act in that position. Sarupena mayopetam. So as I said, Prabhupada very beautifully has elaborated on that, and we'll be just focusing on this particular point. So Prabhupada here compares that the Mayavad school shudders at the thought of service attitude. Right? They like shudders, I mean shivers, or they are scared of just thinking that one has to serve in this some master, because in this world we see the service is forced, it's expected, there is obligation, and the master wants to get the maximum service and pay the minimum reward. And that's the nature in general of. And there is a desire to exploit usually. The servant means one who is exploited by the master in this world. But Prabhupada says, no, that is not the service attitude that's not the service attitude in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the service is based on transcendental love. And the Mayavadis, they have no understanding or information of that. Therefore, they shudder. So this service attitude, which is based on transcendental love, we are just trying to contrast. While the Mayavadis may shudder at the thought of being a servant, Advaitacharya, just the thought that I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya makes him dance in ecstasy. Right? Just reciting the verse, Chaitanya Radha Samui, Chaitanya Radhas, Chaitanya Radha Samui, Taradase Radhas. Singing this verse that I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I am the servant of his servant. This gives so much happiness to Advaitacharya that he begins to dance in ecstasy. Can you imagine? Right? So just contrast with someone who is shuddering at the thought and someone who is just dancing in ecstasy. Not just he begins to dance, in that ecstasy, Advaitacharya completely forgets himself that he is Mahavishnu, he is the Supreme Lord. Just imagine. Say abhiman sukhe apna pasare, Krishna dasa ho jive upadesha kare. He completely forgets himself that I am Mahavishnu, the creator of unlimited material worlds, unlimited material universes. He simply identifies himself as I am the servant of the Lord Chaitanya, I am servant of Krishna, and he thus instructs others, be a servant of the Lord, be a servant of the Lord. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that there is no position in this world higher than being a servant of the Lord. Those Mayavadis who want to become Krishna, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, you are not sufficiently ambitious. You want to become Krishna, you can go higher also. Krishnera samata haite bada bhaktapad. He says, what is this, foolishness being equal to Krishna? This. You can become even higher. How? There is a higher position than that. Right? So therefore, you do not know what's the highest. The higher position than that is Krishnera samata haite bada bhaktapad. The position of being a servant of Krishna is higher than that of Krishna. That is position given by Krishna himself to his devotees, right? Out of love. So the devotee serves out of transcendental love, and the Lord, gives a higher position to his devotees than his own self. He tells that to Uddhava, that my Lord Brahma, he tells Uddhava, Lord Brahma is not my son, Lord Brahma is not so dear to me, my expansion Lord Shiva is not so dear to me, my own brother Sankarshan is not so dear to me, my own wife, who is supposed to be very dear, and she is, but not so dear to me as my devotee. He tells Uddhava. So, therefore the Lord considers his devotees to be most dear to him, and he positions his devotees at a position he himself places, that is out of love, his devotees in a higher position than himself. So Vrindavan Das Thakur also elaborates on this point in his Chaitanya Bhagavat by saying, Krishna seva haite o Vaishnav seva bad, Bhagavat adi shastra sabe kaila dad. The greater than service to Krishna is service to his devotees, he says. And there he says, there is so much ample proof in Srimad Bhagavatam and all the scriptures. Not his own words, where he says that Mad bhakta chana me bhakta, yo me bhakta jana partha, na me bhakta state jana. He says, those who consider, I am a devotee of Krishna. Krishna says, well, you may say that, but I don't accept that. Right? It has to be two-way, bhakti is two-way process. So someone may say, I am your devotee. Krishna says, well, I don't consider that. I don't accept you to be my devotee. And then, but someone says, my Lord, I am a servant of your devotees. Mad bhakta naam jaya bhakta. I am a servant of a devotee. Lord says, yes, very good. You are one of my best devotees. So that's the thinking of the Lord. So the Lord sees, Mad bhakta naam jaya bhakta, same bhakta tama mata. Tama means superlative. Bhakta tar bhakta tama. So that is my best devotee. One who is a servant of my devotee is my best devotee, Lord says. So in this way, the Lord positions, he places his devotees to be in a position higher than his own self. So therefore this sentiment that this opportunity of being a servant of Krishna is the most precious opportunity. There is no greater opportunity, there is no greater fortune, there is no greater wealth in this world than being offered this opportunity to be a servant of the Lord, or even greater, being a servant of the Lord. So that is Advaitacharya. He forgets himself as Mahavishnu. Just imagine, when a person has some power, position, influence, it's very difficult to come out of that. It occupies us sometimes. It's very difficult to just identify oneself as a servant. And who can have a greater power position than Mahavishnu, creator of unlimited material worlds? But he just completely forgets all his position, power, his influence, the huge creation that he has done. He just identifies himself to be just a servant of the Lord. And that sentiment produces such great ecstasy in his heart. Krishna Dāsa bhimane ye ananda sindhu koti brahma sukha nahe tara ek bindu. He experiences such oceanic joy that the Brahman, the happiness of Brahman, which is higher than any material happiness. Right? The happiness of Brahman is million times greater than any material happiness. Even that happiness of Brahman is not a fraction of drop of the oceanic happiness experienced by a servant of the Lord. This Abhiman, that I am the servant. So this is the contrast, and Prabhupada very beautifully brings out that mood of a servant which finds its perfection in the spiritual world. The servant is called as Das. So many verses describe servant as the Das or a Dasi. So what's the meaning of that? One Bhagavatam verse, 112.4, describes, elaborates what does it mean to be a servant of the Lord. What does it mean to be Das or Dasi? So it is about the qualities of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Bhagavatam calls 3 devotees as Haridas. This term Haridas has been attributed to 3 personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam. Who are those? First is Yudhishthir Maharaj. Haridasasya Rajarshe Rajasuya Mahodayam. The great Haridas, Yudhishthir, organized Rajasuya Yakya. The other Haridas is Uddhav. He is Haridas. Uddhavji, he renders service to the Lord he although is a friend, but he has that mood of a servant. Third Haridas. Okay, so now who is the third Haridas? If you know, then you can raise your hand. Okay, Anantachit Prabhu knows, would like to hear from someone else. Third. Okay, yes, mother at the back. Giriraj. And he is not only Haridas, he is Haridas Varya, the best servant. He is the best servant of the Lord. Of all the 3 Haridasas, he is the best. So there are 3 Haridasas explicitly mentioned. Of course, all the other devotees are also the servants, no doubt. Bhagavatam describes so many devotees of the Lord. But these 3 have been specially attributed to the term Haridas. So one is Yudhishthira Maharaj, second is Uddhava, third is Giriraj Govardhan. He is Haridas. But he is Haridas Varya. He is the best servant. What makes him Haridas Varya? Someone would like to share one thought? What makes him Haridas Varya? You can raise your hand and then... yes, Prabhu. Karuna Rasa Prabhu. Yes, Karuna Rasa Prabhu. Because he serves his dear devotees' cows. But so many devotees in Vrindavan also they serve the cows. Yes, it's right. Your answer is right. But there are many other devotees who also just serving the cows makes him Haridas Varya. Your answer is partially correct. There's something a little bit more to that. Yes.
He serves Krishna and his devotees by whatever he has, like the caves, the water, the fruits from the trees, flowers, everything.
Okay, he utilizes everything he has to serve Krishna and Balram and all the other devotees in all the other rasas. Right? He serves all the other devotees in all the other rasas by utilizing everything he has, and especially he takes pleasure when the devotees step on his head and they serve Krishna. Right? So many devotees, they serve Krishna by stepping. So he takes the role of assisting other devotees. He himself serves the Lord, he himself serves the other devotees, and especially takes greater pleasure in assisting other devotees in their service to the Lord. So he provides fresh grasses so that the cows can produce very sweet milk. He brings out various minerals, very beautiful minerals, Giriraj. So that the Gopas, they can take those minerals and dress Krishna. They can beautify the Lordship. So therefore he takes pleasure, greater pleasure in assisting other devotees in their service to Krishna Balaram. So therefore sometime in our service we may step on some other devotees' heads. We may not realize. We may create some problem or trouble, not knowingly, unknowingly, mostly unknowingly. We may not know. Jai Shri Radha Gokulanand ki jai, Siddharam Lakshaman ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. So we may not realize that we may sometime step over other devotees, create some difficulties for them while we are serving the Lord. But Giriraj, he takes great pleasure when other devotees step on his head to serve Krishna and Balaram. So that is something very unique about Giriraj Govardhan. That makes him Haridas Varya. Okay? So 3 Haridasas. So one Haridas is Yudhishthira Maharaj, and one verse describes his 3 qualities and which acronyms to the term Das. So what is Das? One who is devoted to the Supreme Lord. Krishna Padanusevya. So he is devoted to Krishna. And we can add here one who is devoted to Guru and Krishna. So Krishna is the Guru of Yudhishthira Maharaj here directly. So Das means one who is devoted to Guru and Krishna. D. And A, one who is affectionate to other devotees, other dasas. So devotion to Guru and Krishna, affection towards other servants, other devotees, and S is selfless servant of all. A selfless servant of all. S. So the devotion to the Supreme Lord, affection for the other devotees, and selfless service to all living entities in terms of bringing them to Krishna's lotus feet, in terms of preaching. So that is the meaning of the term Das as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I will just briefly elaborate on this, since we all have been given the name. Those of us who take initiation in ISKCON, we receive our spiritual name, and the name has 2 parts, such and such Das, right? Anantachyut Das, Damodar Dāsa. So in this way, or the term Dasi. So the Das or Das, we receive this, and it's quite sometimes there are some pastimes where the devotees would not understand the meaning of their first names, right, after initiation. And one Prabhupada disciple was saying that sometime even after decades of being initiated, many Prabhupada disciples didn't understand the meaning of their first name. But actually they acted perfectly as Das or Dasi, right? Because the second part is the most important. And Prabhupada also highlighted that. So since that is the most important part of our name, and I'll just very briefly speak on that. The Das and Dasi, which is D, stands to be devoted to Guru and Krishna. So Prabhupada, when he read the Bhagavad Gita verse, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi Ekeha Kuru Nandana, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, that one should, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi, one pointed attention means one pointed attention to carry out the instruction of spiritual master. And he felt very encouraged. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, one should not be concerned whether one is going back to Godhead or not. One concern should be whether I am carrying out the instruction of spiritual master. And that became the guiding light of Prabhupada. And that is the main reason for Prabhupada's success. There is no greater force, there is no greater power actually which can empower us than the mercy of the Guru and the Vaishnavas. Because Supreme Lord is extremely pleased when Guru and Vaishnavas are pleased. So therefore, Prabhupada had that one pointed attention, focus, devotion towards Guru and Krishna. He was dedicated to carrying out the instruction of his spiritual master and full faith in the Lord's holy name. And Prabhupada attributed his success to these 2. If you see in his own words, his complete faith in the Supreme Lord as his holy name and his faith in carrying out the instruction of spiritual master. So devotion to Guru and Krishna brings all success. When one depends upon Guru and Krishna, right? Of course, we make our effort to serve them, but dependence on Guru and Krishna is a source of great empowerment. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami expresses in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So when we depend on that higher mercy of Guru and Krishna, how that could be so empowering, could be just amazing. Could be just amazing. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, I am old and invalid. I am practically deaf and dumb. Ami vriddha jara tur likhite kampai kar mane kichu smaran na hoye na dekhiye nayane na suniye shravane tabu likhiye bada vismaye. He says, I am so old and invalid that my hand trembles when I write. Just like sometimes elderly people can't have their hand firm, the hand is trembling while writing. I cannot practically see, I cannot hear. I am so old and invalid. But still I am writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is so amazing because the mercy of Guru and Krishna makes me write. So we may ourselves be amazed if we really become devoted to Guru and Krishna and depend and pray for their mercy, for their empowerment. We may be surprised what the Lord can accomplish making us an instrument. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami very beautifully describes. So once His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was speaking on this particular pastime of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami composing, and he being an old and invalid, and Maharaj started coughing. He started coughing. He said, now I am also becoming invalid. And then he said, but this is very encouraging to me. Now that I am becoming invalid, I have the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And I can now depend more on Guru and Krishna. So in this way, he expressed that. I just recalled once hearing this from him. So in this way, devotion to Guru and Krishna is actually a source of great empowerment. Then affection to other devotees. Affection to other devotees. Now this Prabhupada writes in a purport of 7.5.12, 7th Canto, 5th chapter, verse 12. He says, everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of one's own service. This is the way of Vaikuntha thinking, Vaishnava thinking. A very beautiful statement. So this is one of the very important devotee care verse. Right? Actually, that one should not be just proud of one's own service, but one should appreciate other service, one should encourage other servants of the Lord. That's very important. Maharaj Prataprudra exemplifies this attitude of being affectionate to other. Of course, there are many examples. One example from Chaitanya Charitamrita is that of Maharaj Prataprudra. Maharaj Prataprudra is desperate to have an audience, one interview with the Lord, one personal interview. And he requests Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but his request has been denied. Upfront refused. And now that has been refused, and the king is quite disappointed, but still he has hope. When Ramananda Rai comes to him and says, Lord Chaitanya has invited me to stay with him in Jagannath Puri. Now just imagine, the king is not getting one single interview, and his employee, Maharaj Prataprudra is employed by him, he is on his payroll. Ramananda Rai, his employee, gets an upfront invite to just shift his, fully, to dedicate himself fully, or to just fully live with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. Not just an interview or something. To just be with Lord Chaitanya lifelong. Just imagine how much envy could have come to the heart. The person who is subordinate, he is getting such an amazing opportunity, and the king is not even getting one interview. When the king hears this, he gets up from his asana, he gets up from his throne. He comes and embraces Ramananda Rai. He said, oh, you are so fortunate. You are getting this opportunity to serve Lord Chaitanya. I am not so fortunate. Maybe in some life, Lord Chaitanya will be merciful to me and will give me this opportunity. You go, have no worries. Your full salary is your pension. Have no financial worries. Without any worries, you just serve Lord Chaitanya. And Ramananda Rai goes and tells this to Lord Chaitanya. And Ramananda says, the affection, the love that king has, I don't have a drop of it. But Lord Chaitanya says, Prabhu kahe tumi Krishna bhakta pradhan, tuma ke ye priti kare sei bhagyavan, You are a foremost devotee of Krishna. Anyone who has affection for you, that person is certainly also very fortunate. Tuma kaye priti kare sahi bhagyavan. Because he has shown affection to you, he is very fortunate. So Maharaj Prabhupada thought he's unfortunate, he's not getting an interview, but Lord Chaitanya is saying he is very fortunate. So his fortune has already arisen now, since he has shown this affection to you who are a great devotee. And for this good quality, ei gune Krishna tumhai karib, for this good quality, Krishna will certainly accept the king and be certainly merciful. So indirectly Lord Chaitanya indicates that he will certainly be merciful to the king because of his affection to other devotees, affection to other servants, and facilitating their service to the Lord. So that's the A part, affection to other servers. And the S is the selfless servant of all. There is a beautiful pastime of Prabhupada where he was describing first class, second class, third class, fourth class, men like a Varnas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. And someone in the audience challenged Prabhupada. So, Swamiji, which class do you belong to? And Prabhupada said, I belong to the fifth class. I am the servant of all. Right? So that was Prabhupada's natural mood, his humility. And he considered himself to be the servant of all. And that mood is reflected so many times. So in this way, we have been given this most cherished opportunity of being the servant of the Lord, the greatest fortune, and we can try to reflect upon that, value that, and if we act in that natural position, the Lord is so eager to share the opulences of the spiritual world with His servants, the Das and the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for your patient hearing. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Is there one more Haridas?
Haridas. Oh, more than another Haridas. We have another Haridas with Haridas Thakur. Thank you, Prabhu. Who is the servant of the holy name. Yes, servant of the holy name. And he's such a servant that Lord Chaitanya tells him, I am touching you. Haridas Thakur would always say, oh Lord, please don't touch me, I am very fallen. I am untouchable, he would say. I am untouchable. I am very fallen. But Lord would say, I am touching you for my purification. Your purified activities do not exist in me. Prabhu kahe to masparshi atma pavitrite tumara pavitra dharma nahi ka amate. Your purified activities do not exist in me. Lord would say. And he would embrace Haridas Thakur. Another, thank you, Prabhu, for reminding us for Haridas Thakur. Your good name, Prabhu? Prayojan Prabhu. Thank you for reminding us of another Haridas, servant of the holy name from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anyone would like to comment, reflect? Hare Krishna. Okay, we have some hands raised. Yes. Yourself, yeah? Okay, either way. I'll try to answer briefly and not go too much beyond time.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Just one quick question about being servant of the servant. When we are new to Krishna consciousness, or when we are not serving with any devotee very closely, that time we see that devotee as being very great. Oh, I'm your servant, Prabhu, how can I serve you? But when we serve with someone together, and if by chance there are some frictions, then we have a hard time being his servant.
Yes.
The mood comes, I am servant of everyone but this devotee. So,
Hare Krishna.
What should we do?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I just remembered another very beautiful statement I heard from His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj. He said, to be the servant of the servant is easiest for the soul, but hardest for the false ego. So he mentioned that. So yes, there are false ego clashes are always there. And the false ego makes us think that I am right and that person is wrong. That usually is the perspective of everyone. So, but we should know that Krishna loves his devotees in spite of all the faults, because Krishna doesn't see the faults. He only sees a small good and magnifies that. And a big fault the Lord easily overlooks, neglects. So the Lord loves his devotees, and that's the meaning also causeless love or causeless devotional service. In spite of seeing the fault, we have to know that these faults are superficial. They will go away by the power of devotional service. So anyone who has come to bhakti is an association of devotees serving the Lord, that person will surely be purified very soon. All the faults will go away. Therefore, just say that's just superficial. The substance is in the bhakti, take that good quality and overlook the fault. And there's another beautiful teaching of Lord Chaitanya where he says, Yaha te ye dosh dekhe tahara se dosh. Consider the fault to be fault of our own vision. Yaha te ye dosh dekhe tahara se dosh. When I see a fault, consider that it's a fault of my vision. I see things superficially, and this superficial fault will soon go away. Even if I consider that fault to be actually a fault, right? My mind says, but still say, okay, even if it is a fault, this fault will go away very soon. So don't take it seriously, take the bhakti seriously, and therefore love the devotees, be affectionate towards them, and the Lord will be extremely pleased and shower His mercy. Hare Krishna. Okay, we have some Vaishnavis, so we can have question like this. Yes. Yes, yes, mother, you can. Oh, behind you. Yeah, you can pass the microphone.
I have a question about the selfless service, because is it correct to think that, I should be the selfless servant of everyone, so whatever the devotees ask me, I should do that, and even if I don't have time for my own reading and chanting, I'll still accept service from everyone.
Hare Krishna. Okay, what's your name?
Subhadra.
Okay, Mother Subhadra. You actually asked a very good practical question. Appreciate that. We want to be selfless servant, and this is also this to hear, chant, nourish ourselves with bhakti is also service. It's also service. So it's all the question of balancing, because we say Nam Seva, Bhagavat Seva, Prasad Seva. All this, the term Seva is applied to all this. So at the service, we have to chant the holy names attentively. At the service, we have to hear Bhagavatam. At the service, we have to honor Prasad, healthy Prasad on time, and so on. So we may have to. So it's a question of balancing, basically. I would just say question of balancing between different services. So devotee is a selfless servant. Right? Even while hearing, chanting, one's own nourishment is also selfless. Because the spiritual self-interest, nate vidhu swartha gatam hi vishnum, Prahlad Maharaj says, it's good to be selfish, but one should know what is one's true self, what is true self-interest. So bhakti is our true self-interest. That selfishness is also selflessness, because absolute platform. So therefore, we have to take care of our own spiritual life. Not just spiritual life, we have to keep ourselves healthy also, both physically, both emotionally. That's also our service. And also we want to serve the other devotees suitably, right, in the long run. So therefore, we take some mature guidance and balance between various services. So we don't create a dichotomy over here, that one is, something is mine, own, other thing is selfless, this is selfishness. No. Devotee life is 100% that of service. So we see that harmony over here and not a conflict, and just balance it. And that requires some, maybe some, in due course of time, with some guidance, with one's own experience, with mercy of the Lord, the more we balance, the better it is. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we can have one question from this side, Prabhu, and then come back. And personally, I'm okay. Other devotees who need to leave for their other services, please feel free. But personally, I'll be just happy to answer the questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your delightful lecture so that we can understand and contemplate on the importance of serving the devotees. But as a neophyte sadhakas, how can we understand a bhajananandi who is not engaged into serving devotees directly, but still sitting in a secluded place performing his own personal bhajan? So how can we understand it?
Okay, so how do we understand the bhajans of the bhajananandi? One who is performing that true bhajan, Uddhavji, when he visits Vrindavan, he says, and he sees the absorption of the residents of Vrindavan in Krishna. And he says, Yasam hari kathodgitam punati bhuvanatrayam. Your absorption in Krishna, your bhakti is benefiting all the three worlds. So just imagine their service. They are performing, sitting at one place and benefiting the three worlds. Yasam hari kathodgitam. And once some devotees asked Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, your Guru Maharaj doesn't travel and preaches like you are doing something great. He said, battery may be stationed at one place, right? And so many moving parts may be moving, but where do they get the power from? A battery which may be just be stationed. He said, I am moving around preaching, all my power is coming from a Guru Maharaj who is simply stationed and doing his Hari Bhajan. So therefore, they also are serving in their own way, in which they are pure and the way Krishna inspired them, but their bhajan also is benefiting everyone. So just a different way of serving.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Okay, yes, Mother.
I'll be touching on a sensitive point, actually. I really like the idea that you touched on points like loving each other and sharing and encouraging. Talked about different levels of people, stages we are at, as well as ranking. And I think most, even Krishna conscious society, we come here for that reason, to be inclusive, and it's not always the case. So I'm just wondering how, the point is that we don't feel encouraged to become senior devotees, and you actually say, or to grow and develop in this movement. You did say about one thing that really stood out for me was you said, can we hear from the non-senior devotees, which is really good, and I think that's very encouraging. Can we hear from the non-senior devotees?
Can we hear from the non-senior devotees?
Yes, when you were saying somebody was trying to answer, a senior devotee, you say, can we hear from the others first, then we come to you. And I think that's encouraging for me.
Okay.
So do you get my point? It's
Yes.
a bit complex, yeah.
Okay.
But how do we grow and become at a stage where we have better understanding and we love each other, and love thy neighbor as yourself? That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Does it make sense? It is complicated.
Yeah.
As human beings. I'm just saying, it's the mood that you go to help each other. You came with the mood that you want to help the whole group of us, yeah?
Hare Krishna. So if I'm getting right, you are saying that it's a duty. Prabhupada says that we should all encourage and inspire each other, but sometimes we do not feel encouraged, right, to do something. Right? We may not sometimes feel encouraged, and how we can have that culture. So basically, this whole thing is it's a collective effort and begins with one's own effort. So we want to have a culture where each devotee is gradually sensitive to the needs of different devotees, because we are surrounded by so many devotees, and we understand their different needs, their diverse needs, diverse concerns, etc. And try to, as much as possible, appreciate, encourage each and every devotee to go on serving. Right? So that culture is one of the main vision for the devotee care project in ISKCON. Right? So, of course, in due course, some devotees are sometimes neglected, they feel discouraged, it happens. It happens. But Prabhupada said, if some devotee goes away, 50% is the fault of the leaders, 50% is one's own fault. So therefore, it's also our duty to see that we do not feel, discouraged to do some certain things, knowing that, that we all have our own shortcomings. We have our shortcomings. Even those who are leading, those who are senior, they may have some shortcomings. In a society of devotees which is growing, not everyone's needs for being encouraged and inspired may be fulfilled sometime. But one good thing will be, when we see something lacking, we try to become part of the solution. If you feel, I am not being sufficiently appreciated, let's try to give the appreciation to others. That brings a lot in our own life also. So that approach, if I am not getting what's supposed to in the association of devotees, let me start giving it. By that, let me be part of the solution. I see there is a problem, there is a challenge. Let me be part of the solution. Let me make some difference to someone's life. That's a very good beginning. So I would just say that I'm not sure whether I actually answered your question. Probably I just shared some thoughts, related thoughts.
You touched on it. The leader is got a pivotal role, and we look on the person too. Because you find good leaders produce good followers, don't they?
Yes.
So that's the
Okay.
gist of it all.
Thank you so much.
Hari Bol.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Okay, so Prabhu has a question. Maybe someone can tell us, do we stop the class here or continue question answers? I'm not sure. Someone has to guide me. Sorry, Prabhu?
It's like 8:30. Till 9 o'clock you can go on. There's no breakfast.
Oh, there is no breakfast?
Till 9 o'clock, yeah.
Achha, till 9 o'clock? There's a breakfast at... No. I think 8:30 is the time, breakfast time, right? 8:30. No, 8:30 is the breakfast time. So, as I said, that please feel free to leave the classroom. As of time, you may please attend to other services, have breakfast. Those who want to have any question or discussion, so let's keep it optional over here. Right? Let's keep it optional over here. So
Thank you for
we'll have one question.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. You mentioned that by acting in a service position, one becomes purified. So what is the difference between actually serving and acting in a service position?
Oh, what is the difference between serving and acting in a service position? Prabhupada highlights that we are not yet pure to be the direct servant of the Lord. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, when he gives the example of a car mechanic. A person is recruited for training under expert mechanic. And the expert mechanic tell, now you open this. Now you open this and then now you fix it like this and now you put it back. So when even a new person is acting under the direction of an expert, that person is also functionally expert. Although the person is not expert on his own self. So therefore, acting means under the direction of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, under careful guidance, we act, we know this is the way to do things. Though our own inclination may be something else, but we know what is the right thing to do, and we act right, and gradually we become purified servants ourselves. So it is under expert direction. Right? So doing our service under expert direction, that's the meaning of acting as servant. And then we become purified servants of the Lord.
So when we're acting in that way,
yes,
does that mean we're actually also serving the Lord?
Yes, we are serving the Lord, though we may not at times have a spontaneous affection. Like Prabhupada says, service is based on spontaneous love. We may not have love. But out of discipline, out of right direction, out of instruction of Guru, we are acting as servant. And the Lord accepts that service as pure devotional service because we are under the guidance. Though we are constitutionally not pure. So the one thing is becoming constitutionally pure, other thing is acting or functionally we are acting as pure. So we like Prabhupada would say, you feel happy or not happy, just dance in the kirtan, then happiness will come. Right? Ecstasy or no ecstasy, just dance and ecstasy will come. You act, then it happens also. So both way around. So that's the dynamics over here. Okay, Hare Krishna. So once again, I thank you so much for your participation, your association. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nithai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare